Why is it that the people who follow the rules most closely often end up falling behind in the financial race? And why do billionaires pay such shockingly low effective tax rates? The answer lies in a completely legal strategy that has existed for more than a century. It is so sophisticated that it is almost invisible to most people. The academic term for it is buy, borrow, die. It was coined by law professor Edward McCaffery around 1993, not as a guide for the wealthy, but as a warning about a flaw in the modern tax system. First, forget the endless debates about tax rates. 5%, 10%, 30%, none of that is the real issue. The real issue is this. Modern tax systems, whether in the United States, Europe, or most parts of the world, are built on one basic principle. They tax transactions. You earn a salary, that is a transaction. You sell a house, that is a transaction. And that's when taxes apply. But what happens if the value of your assets increases without any transaction taking place? From a tax perspective, nothing has happened. They do not care if your stock portfolio doubles in value overnight. They do not care if your home increases in value by $500,000. As long as you haven't sold, those gains aren't subject to income or capital gains tax. And that is the first loophole. Once you understand that the act of selling is what actually triggers taxes, it leads us straight to the first rule in the hidden playbook of the wealthy, BUY. But not just anything. The rich have very different priorities. They focus almost all of their resources on assets that can grow quietly. Think of growth stocks, companies that do not pay dividends, but instead reinvest all their profits to drive the stock price higher. Think of prime real estate. Over time, the land value quietly explodes. Think of ownership in private companies, art, or rare collectibles. These are the kinds of assets rich people buy. What do all of these assets have in common? They can grow enormously in value over decades, yet as long as the owner does not sell a single share or a single square foot of land, all of that growth exists only on paper. And on paper, there is no tax. No sale means no tax. It really is that simple. Do you see the difference? The traditional path most of us follow looks like this. Earn income, get taxed immediately, then invest what little is left. Their path looks very different. Use money to buy assets first, let those assets grow on their own, and taxes never show up. Their wealth can compound for decades, and as long as they do not sell, the tax bill remains exactly zero. But at this point, an obvious question comes up. If they never sell anything to generate income, where does the money to live actually come from? And this is where we arrive at the most brilliant move in the strategy, the second step, borrow. When you and I need money, we think about working more hours, asking for a raise, or selling something we own. When they need money, they do not sell their assets. They use those assets as collateral to borrow from the bank. Let me explain. Under the tax laws of most countries, a loan is not considered income. When you take out a mortgage and the bank wires you $500,000, you do not report that as income or pay taxes on it, because it is debt, not earnings. The ultra-wealthy apply this same principle, just at a massive scale. A wealthy individual can walk into a bank with a $100 million investment portfolio and say, "Lend me $10 million using this portfolio as collateral." The bank is usually more than happy to do that, and at interest rates far lower than what regular consumers ever get. They receive $10 million in cash, pay zero tax on it, and use that money to cover all their living expenses. But here is the real genius of the strategy. While they are living off that $10 million loan, their original $100 million portfolio stays exactly where it is. Nothing gets sold, and it keeps growing. Now do the math for a moment. If their portfolio grows at an average of 7% per year, while the loan interest is only 4%, then in theory, they are getting richer by 3% every year while living on borrowed money. The assets keep appreciating, which allows them to borrow even more. Then they live off the new loan, while the original assets continue to grow. It becomes a nearly perpetual loop for building wealth without ever creating taxable income. But debt is still debt, right? What happens to those tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars in loans? Do they just disappear? In a way, yes. They effectively disappear from the tax system. And this is where we reach the final step of the strategy, DIE. This is the moment when the entire tax system is dramatically reset through a rule called the stepped-up basis. Let me explain it with a very simple example. Imagine your father bought a piece of land back in 1980 for $100,000. For the next 40 years, he never sold it. By the time he passes away, that land is now worth $10 million. If he had sold the land the day before his death, he would have owed tax on nearly $9.9 million in gains. But he did not sell it. He passed away and left it to you as an inheritance. At that moment, the stepped-up basis rule is triggered. For tax purposes, the original purchase price of the land is no longer $100,000. It is stepped up to the market value at the time you inherit it, which is $10 million. All $9.9 million of accumulated gains over those 40 years simply vanish from the tax records, completely legally. Now, suppose you immediately sell the land for $10 million. Here is how the tax is calculated. The sale price is $10 million. The cost basis, which is the new basis, is $10 million. So the taxable gain is zero, which means the tax owed is zero, 100% legal. But I need to be very clear about one thing. This rule was not created to help billionaires. It was designed to avoid double taxation, simplify the valuation of old assets, and protect family inheritance. However, when it is combined with rapidly appreciating assets, a lifetime of never selling, and borrowing instead of selling, it becomes an incredibly powerful tool for preserving enormous wealth. So, what does the buy, borrow, die strategy mean for society as a whole? And why is it one of the main forces driving growing inequality? Because this strategy has a snowball effect. It works like a snowball rolling downhill. The more assets you have, the more you can borrow. The richer you are, the cheaper your borrowing costs become, because banks see you as a safer borrower. This creates what we call wealth dynasties, structures where wealth is passed down from one generation to the next with very little loss along the way. Meanwhile, people who are trying to build wealth from zero, using only their income and labor, get taxed at every stage, when they earn their salary, when they invest, and again when they sell assets to retire. So, what should we, as ordinary people, take away from this story? Clearly, this is not a strategy you can apply tomorrow, but it offers an incredibly valuable mindset shift. First, start changing how you define money. Stop thinking of money only as income, as something that flows in and then flows out. Start seeing it as a structure where assets are the foundation, and income is just one of many ways that structure operates. Second, if you truly want to move closer to financial freedom, your journey has to be a gradual transition. A shift from selling your time and skills for income toward owning assets that can grow in value on their own. Thank you for listening. If you found this valuable, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together.